Hey y'all, welcome back to the Skookum Report. I'm Bob, and I have another great Bigfoot encounter story for you today. And I really like this one. It reminds me of the movie Stand By Me. You'll see why in a minute. It's really cool. Now this happened in the summer of 1953 in Shelton, Connecticut, and that's in New Haven County, Connecticut. And the gentleman said, if you turn at Indian Wells State Park, he said that road turns very windy and it turns into a one-lane road above the park. And it has a lot of blind curves and you have to pull over quite a bit because there's only room for one car at a time to pass. And he said at about 2 miles, you'll come to a place where it crosses over a railroad track. And then it continues on to the cottage area. He said it was about 100 yards above that crossing that this event took place. And this was in the White Hills region of Shelton, Connecticut. He said that the area was extremely steep mountainside. It had a lot of extremely steep mountainsides, and it was on the edge of a major river valley with a crudely cut road and a railroad track below the road at the water's edge. The area contains large tracts of uninhabited land and forms a corridor to even more remote areas the further north as it goes on. And he said that, now this took place a long time ago. He said, however, I have lived with the vision of this creature all my life, and I haven't told anyone about it. The only other people who know are the two buddies that were with me. He said, I was visiting a relative's cottage on the Housatonic Lake. Now, forgive me if I'm not pronouncing that right, Housatonic Lake, near the Indian Wells State Park in the White Hills region of Shelton, Connecticut. Now, back then in the early 50s, this area wasn't inhabited very densely at all, and it still isn't today, but back then even more so. And he said there were 3 of us, me and 2 of my buddies, and we were all about the ages of 5 and 6. And that day we left the cottage and headed for the railroad track, excuse me, which ran along the Housatonic River and Lake. And we would just go cruising up and down this track, exploring and throwing rocks and picking up sticks and sword fighting and just doing things that kids do, having a lot of fun. He said it was a really nice, bright, sunny summer day. It was about 9 o'clock in the morning. And we were about a third of a mile from the cottage, and we went out there this time to pick blackberries to put into our cereal, and I have fond memories of that too. He said we were busy picking these blackberries, and then just out of nowhere, this large, probably 7-foot tall creature came down the steep hillside and proceeded to walk northward along the railroad tracks. It stared at all 3 of us one time, and it just kept on fastly moving, and its stride was huge. I remember it was covering a lot of ground in a short period of time, and its arms looked like they went almost to its knees. And the body was covered in dark brown, grayish hair, and it had the face of a primate. And the hair was shorter than the Bigfoots I've seen on, like, say, the Patterson-Gimlin film or something like that. And he said we all just ran back to the cottage as fast as we could to tell our parents, and they just dismissed us all and the whole thing as a children's fantasy. Now, I want to remind you, this event took place way before the Patterson-Gimlin film came out in the late 60s, or I think even before the word Bigfoot was popular. I don't know, it was 1953, and you just didn't hear anything like this back then. And also, the train would only come like 3 times a day, so it was pretty quiet except for that. If the train wasn't coming by, you didn't really, hear or see much out there. And we thought that maybe the blackberries were a source of food for this creature, and because they grew all along the tracks. And if it wanted to stay hidden and eat, it could do so by just staying on the far side of the tracks and just jump back in the forest if a train came along. And you could hear the train coming miles before you ever would see it because of the echo in the valley. And me and my buddies, we were just amazed at this whole event. And being kids, we even tossed around the idea that, well, maybe it was somebody in a monkey outfit or something, but we just weren't quite sure. It was about 50 to 75 feet off of the track and down in a gully, and we didn't hear the creature approaching us on the tracks or anything like that. I guess it was about 50 yards away when we first saw it, and it was walking along the tracks towards us. And just me and my two buddies, we were just incredibly amazed, and we just stood there watching it the whole time. And it remained on the tracks in the little gully and continued. We just continued to watch him. And I'm not sure. We don't think that he saw us until he was about 25 yards away, because that's when he looked, and he made eye contact with us for probably about 5 seconds. And it kept an eye on us from that point on until it passed us, and just kept going up northward on the tracks. It didn't make any vocalizations, and it didn't make any types of noises that we can remember, and it didn't come with any type of odor. We didn't smell anything, and as it walked by us, we couldn't smell anything, and we did notice that it was leaning slightly forward. Its posture was bent, and it had a pointed head. I do remember that, and the crown of its head was higher than the forehead. It was very tall and lanky, but it wasn't massive like some of the reports you hear, but it was big. It was very tall and very lanky. I do remember that. And it had a continuous arm swing the whole time. And like I said, the speed and the stride were just crazy, to see in person. It's not the same as when you see it on TV, like with the Patterson-Gimlin film. It's just completely different when you see it in person and up close. And the animal just kept walking, and we kept an eye on it until it was just out of view. And that's my sighting, and I'll never forget it. And I haven't told anyone except you. This is it. Just writing my sighting out on paper, and I just don't want the ridicule that comes with it. I've heard, a lot of people say you're better off not to say anything at all, listening to some of these reports on YouTube and stuff like that. I'm just going to keep it as a good memory to myself, I think. Well, I appreciate your sighting, and I thought it was a great story. And like I said, it reminds me of that movie Stand By Me. The kids out in the 50s walking down the railroad track, just playing, making memories, having a good time. And I thought it was a really, really cool story. And you're not going to get too many people that will believe you anyway, we learn a lot from listening to all these encounters, and how people react, listening to the ones that do tell everybody. And some of them, it doesn't go good at all. Some people have lost relationships and jobs and things like that over this. And it's just not something you expect, especially when you just see something so amazing, you're excited and want to tell somebody. You don't always think of how it might affect the rest of your life. But we're all family here, and you're not going to get no ridicule from us here. And it's a safe place to tell your story and just be amongst friends. So if anybody else has had a sighting or an encounter that they want to tell and they want to have told on the channel, just shoot me an email at bob.daigle75@aol.com. That's bob.daigle75@aol.com. And I'll be sure to get it up on the channel for you, for everyone to enjoy. And don't forget to hit subscribe and click on the bell if you want future notifications when videos are posted. And give me a thumbs up if you enjoyed the story, and leave a comment and let me know what you're thinking. And if you have any ideas for the channel or anything you'd like to see or hear, just leave a comment. And I want to thank you guys for coming back to the Skookum Report. And I really appreciate y'all, and I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you again soon on the Skookum Report. Y'all take care. Bye-bye.